Hi, everybody. I'm here with Robert Howard, who's going to be playing Bach's fifth cello suite on our second session, March 15th. And Robert, I'm so excited that you're going to be bringing this wonderful music to share with our participants.
Thank you. I'm very honored to be asked and look forward to it very much.
So tell me, I've been asking people sort of where they encountered this music first. Were you already a cellist when you ran into it, or was it around before you started playing seriously? I'm just curious.
That's a good question. I don't remember.
Oh, that's so
Um,
great.
I don't come from a musical family. My parents did not listen to classical music growing up. I do remember being excited, thinking like I was a real cellist the first time my teacher assigned me one of the movements. It's sort of a badge of it's like becoming an Eagle Scout, I guess, or something. I don't know. Like,
Right.
yeah.
I find that this music is so compelling and personal, and I'm trying to kind of identify why that is. Sometimes I think it's because of the physicality of the instrument, that singing sound. And sometimes I think it's just such primal energy and melodies. Do you have thoughts about that?
Well, so as most people know, there are in all of Bach's music, there are barely any dynamic markings and barely any tempo markings in anything he wrote. Certainly not in the cello suites. And that, so we just basically are left with the notes, just raw notes. Um, the bowings are up for debate. Some of the notes are up for debate. Um, but I think that presents a pretty interesting challenge to us as musicians that we're forced to make sense of the notes themselves without relying on these sort of superficial indicators like crescendos, diminuendos, retard, accelerando, whatever. We sort of assume that Bach would have liked inflection and phrasing and all of that other stuff that goes along with it, but he certainly didn't indicate it. So, I mean, so there's that element. And then, of course, there's what makes Bach unique among his contemporaries, too, which is, um, I think a lot of his pieces are kind of like little puzzles, that you have to figure out. And some of them are quite complex. I mean, like the fifth suite that I'll be presenting, the first movement has a fugal movement. And there's like this recurring half step that just keeps popping up, and it's almost like a dialogue. Of course, like how do you really play a fugue on a cello? It's not exactly. It's not like the violin fugues where he's written, double and triple stops on every note. It's for us, it's more implied, but it's figuring out this little puzzle about like where's Waldo, like where's this half step popping up again and again and again, and how does it get treated differently in different sections?
Oh, I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
And as in terms of the suites, I mean, COVID was an interesting time because I mean, I thought I wasn't thinking about what other people are doing. I suddenly had 6 months of work canceled in 2 weeks and didn't know what to do with myself. And so I just quickly decided that, you know what, I'm just going to do a different Bach movement every day. So that'll keep me busy for, 36 days. or, um, and lo and behold, then I found out that like basically every other cellist in the world had the same idea. But I think that is very interesting to realize that we all are kind of it's in our blood, this music, and
Exactly.
even though we all play it so differently and there's so many you can go back and forth about this or that way to interpret it, but we all feel very personal about it, have a very personal connection to it, which is cool, and it can be compelling in really different styles.
Well, I know that you actually play a fair amount of Baroque period instrument music as well as modern cello. And are you sort of drawn to the Baroque instrument, or do you like to play it on the modern instrument? Would you talk a little bit about that?
At the moment, I think I'm but probably going to be playing on my modern setup cello. But this suite is scordatura, so it's tuned down. The top A string will be tuned down a whole step to the G. So that already creates a quite a different. It sounds like a simple fix, and it is, but it creates a very different sonority on either Baroque or modern cello. Um, I think that I might be too Baroque for the modern people and too modern for the Baroque people. I'm somewhere caught in the middle. But no, of course, I played in Philharmonia for years, and um, learning how to use the bow and learning the response of the gut strings, and mostly I think it's a sound quality that one gets in the ear. And then with the Bach, and especially there's so much back and forth about bowings, and a lot of those things make way more sense once you try them on the equipment. And then once you know how it works, you can emulate that on any equipment. But it is very valuable to have gone back to the original setup, for sure. It's expensive to have two really nice cellos, I think.
I'm sure people will agree with that. Yeah, yeah. It's just really interesting how people have adapted to the period instrument movement, which has become so ingrained now. It's not, it's not fringy at all. People know it's there and have a little bit, at least a little bit of experience, and how a Baroque bow feels and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, and I guess I was lucky in that my high school cello teacher, Martha Gershevsky in Atlanta, Georgia, was on to this trend a bit earlier. I think now it's pretty mainstream.
yeah,
I mean, Juilliard now has the early music department, and that would have been unheard of when I was in high school. And I remember learning the Anna Magdalena bowings and probably doing them very badly. It must have sounded awful, but taking them around to different people, Orlando Cole, I remember, was just horrified. Like, what are you doing? Like, who told you to do that?
that's great.
But now it's much more mainstream.
Yeah, yeah. Has your approach to the suites changed over time? I'm sure it has changed over time, but in terms of having a sense of where they are and that it sort of keeps moving out in front of you, like following something that keeps receding into the distance? Or do you feel like you're getting closer to something that is meaningful to you personally?
Well, maybe a bit of both. I think I used to, as a kid, one looks at these things just from a technical point of view, like, can I play the notes? You know, and but now I'm a little bit older, and I've played them all in public, most of them more than once, and um, I have quite a different perspective. I I don't feel comfortable. Just there's some pieces that I can just do on very little preparation if I've played it a lot. Um, I don't feel that way with these pieces. Even the easier ones or the ones that are less technically challenging, I feel like to really do it well, I actually have to look at it. I mean, I've probably played the first suite in public more times than I can remember, maybe 100 times or more.
Wow.
But to really do it well, I need to look at it on my own. So I have more respect for them, I guess.
Yeah.
And I suppose it does change over time. And I think I used to think when I was a kid that there was sort of one way. And now, and it's funny because I just judged this junior Bach competition just last week, and I think maybe Bill or some of the other cellists might have done the same. And it's interesting, even with younger cellists, hearing some very different interpretations and thinking, oh, that works. Like,
Wow.
I hadn't
Love
thought of
that.
it that way, but okay. Like,
That's great.
a few years ago, I became kind of obsessed with chaconne, and um, and I worked on it for quite a while. It's not a cello piece, it's a violin piece, of course, but it's been arranged for everything. It started out as kind of just a technical, like, can I do this technically? Because, but then one has to like it enough to keep working on it. So, that's one of those pieces that, especially for the cello, is both a musical and a technical challenge.
Boy, I'll bet.
Um, but totally worth it, I think. And that was so interesting for me to go to that and see a few differences. One, we have actually a manuscript in his handwriting for that, unlike the cello suites. So it turns out his handwriting is actually a lot better than his wife's. She had many, many kids to look after, so no judgment there. But it's a lot clearer what he wanted. But man, the technical challenges, and also presenting it in a seamless musical way that makes musical sense, and the progression, the dramatic and emotional progression, that put Bach, I think, in a totally different context for me. And now coming back to the cello suites, which in a way are, one could argue, simpler or maybe more advanced, because a lot of the harmonies are implied rather than explicitly. The violin has triple and quadruple stops every other note, and ours are much more implied. But that really helped put it in a new context for me. And I think coming back to these suites during the quarantine initially, when we were in lockdown, gave me something to kind of center myself, and also was just a really interesting way of marking my progression as a person, as a man, but also as a cellist, through this different phase of life, and seeing, like, wow, this is, I can play these, I know the notes, but I'm just scratching the surface, and feeling like, oh, I thought I could work this up in a day, but I really need 2 or 3 extra days to, like, chew on this. And so I think I've grown to respect the suites more and more as I've gotten older.
I love that Bach got you through the quarantine. That's really great.
And everybody did. I mean, I think Elisa Weilerstein and Gautier Capuçon and all of these really prominent cellists were doing the exact same thing.
Speaking about the chaconne and how the harmonies are so explicit, and how on the suites they're implied, that's a really interesting point. I love how in Bach, everything is about the conversation between the notes, and how the voices are so specifically in different, the melodies are so important, but how they combine and interact harmonically is really what moves the music forward. And it's an interesting contrast between the chaconne and the writing in the suites in that regard.
Yeah, it's also one of the other COVID pieces. I have many COVID projects to keep me from going stir crazy, but I worked a lot on the Britten suites as well. And it's interesting because I think they're 20th century masterpieces, but he followed a similar pattern where the first suite is tons of chords, and then each one gets more and more sparse. The writing gets more and more implied. So it's interesting. I mean, who knows what he was thinking about? But of course, everybody's heard these Bach suites in the 20th century now, thanks to Casals. And
yeah. Well, you have studied with one of our other mentors. You studied with Bonnie Hampton, didn't you?
Yeah.
And she'll also
and
be
Jean-Michel, both.
Oh, did you really? How wonderful! Yeah. I love the legacy, the sense of legacy of as performers, that there's continuity between teacher and student down the ages. Bonnie studied with Casals,
I believe
Margaret
this particular group of cellists is, it's always a small world, but yeah, I studied with Bonnie and Jean-Michel, and then when Stephen took a quarter off at Stanford, I took his studio. Bill and I have been stand partners for years. I coached Oliver Herbert at Youth Symphony, like ages ago. So yes, this is a tight knit connection here you've
It's
assembled.
wonderful. I'm so glad that you're going to be part of this series, and we can't wait to see you on March 15th. I hope we will see everyone. The series starts March 8th. The fifth suite with Robert Howard is the second offering, the second week. 6 weeks of Bach suites. It's
Great.
going to be
Thanks,
really
Lolly.
fun. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.